Hey guys, welcome to Earthit. So today let's look at a complete care guide on how to grow and maintain a tomato plant. Let's begin with the seasons. We can start off a plantation by late December or early January, and this plant can be grown in 3 cycles all through the year. The plant's lifespan is going to be 4 to 6 months to get the maximum yielding. So we can grow in 3 cycles, that is starting from January to April will be a first cycle, from April to June or July will be a second cycle, and from June or July to November or December will be our third cycle. So this way we can actually grow our tomato plants all through the year. And the main part is we can get 50 to 100 fruits from one plant if maintained or if treated properly. Let's start off with the germination process.
For seeds, we can take tomato variant of our choice, slice it up, take the seeds and soak them in water for some time and place them in a mixture of cocoa peat and carbon for germination. Place them in bright sun. To store the seeds, we can slice up the tomato into multiple slices and sun dry it. It would take 10 to 15 days for a seed to germinate and grow into a nice young plant. Post this, we can transplant it into a new or a larger pot. For soil mix, let's add equal amounts of garden soil, cocoa peat, compost, river sand or any material that's very good in drainage like perlite. And let's also add 2 tablespoons of rock phosphate to a pot which is like 12-inch diameter and 15-inch deep. 2 tablespoons of rock phosphate is more than enough. This helps in strengthening the roots. At the same time, it's gonna help in like very good flowering and fruiting in the future. The idea behind it is to give a balanced proportion of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. If you have a very healthy foliage but do not have proper flowering and fruiting, it means that your plant or the soil has high amount of nitrogen and you need to add materials that are rich in potassium and phosphorus to balance and to increase the probability of flowering and fruiting.
Watering is important for a tomato plant because it needs moisture all through its growth cycle. And there is a small trick, which is we are not supposed to wet or moisten the foliage. The wet and moist foliage is going to attract a lot of diseases which eventually will kill the plant in later stages. So it's highly important for us to know that we either water only during the mornings and not during the nights, because the humidity level is going to be a little high during the nights, and morning it's going to dry out pretty faster, and you water it only once in a day unless and until the climate is pretty harsh. That is, if you have pretty harsh summers or too dry sun, you can probably water it twice a day, else the watering has to be only once. Let's move on to the diseases which is actually caused because of the weather or due to the watering.
Moving on to diseases, the first and common disease that we have is leaf miners, which is basically a hole dug by a female fly to lay her eggs. It's like a tunnel that's formed on top of our leaves. The ideal solution is to prune them completely. You may also have these bugs in your leaves or like these small bees in your leaves. This is also a cause, and the ideal solution is to just remove them off and discard them and spray our plant with a solution of neem and vinegar or neem and dishwash soap in warm water. Mix it really well and spray it throughout the plant, like all through the plant completely. It's not gonna harm our plant, but the thing is the flowering and fruiting process is gonna slow down extremely, and your plants may die if this situation persists. Next disease is a spot disease or septoria, and this is how it looks. It's a fungal disease and starts at the base and moves slowly to the top of our plant. So leaves or foliage has to be dry. You should not wet them. It has to be completely dried, and then we prune them. The basic part is air circulation. We gotta give our plant a nice air circulation at the base and place it away from other plants. So basically, the ideal distance would be 2 feet between the plants. We also have other types of disease like early blight, bacterial stem and fruit canker, bacterial leaf spot, septoria, wilting or virus development, and so many problems. just because of moist or wet foliage.
It is highly essential for us to tie the tomato plants to a support as the stems are very tender and they'll not be able to bear the weight during the fruiting. Pollination is something that happens naturally, but in tomatoes, we can actually use our hands to pollinate and get the maximum benefit from the plant. So let's see how.
If in case we want maximum yielding, we can manually pollinate like how I'm showing by just going them and creating a tiny vibration like how the bees buzz or the birds do. You're creating a tiny vibration by shaking them or tapping on top of them, and the pollens from the anthers drop down to the stigma, and boom, we'll have a fruit soon.
Hope this video was informative and useful. Please do let me know your suggestions in the comments box below. Meet you guys in the next videos. Until then, namaste.